So can I invite onto the stage Xavier, can you please come up? And Dimitar, please come up. George Krupis, he was here a second ago. Where is he? He was here a second ago. Oh, there he is. You want to come up? Come up and I'll give you a microphone in a second. You guys can introduce yourself. George hasn't spoken yet. No? What happened? Did I make a mistake? Tell me. Oh, okay. So Gary Crawford. Where's Gary? And can I ask each of you to just briefly introduce yourselves and maybe an opening remark, and then we'll open up to some questions from some of our volunteers, from myself, and then from the crowd. Okay?
Hey, hi.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Portia Tung. I work as an executive and personal coach, supporting senior managers through agile transformations and other organizational change initiatives. And I'm giving the end keynote on play and play science this afternoon, so hope to see you there.
Hi there, I'm Tony Grout from Atlassian. I'm the head of digital and agile and DevOps transformation. And I'm going to do a talk later on scaling agile.
Hello, my name is Dimitar. I'm the CEO of Kanbanize, and my grandmother is a Greek, so.
Hello, my name is Xavi Albaladejo. I'm working in Mango Line with the senior management, middle management, and all the people needed in order to make things different and be the, let's say, the engine of the retail transformation.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Dimitra. I expect your grandmother's name used to be Dimitra, probably.
I guess so.
Probably. You know, that's the way the tradition would go. All right. Can I just ask, because I didn't take this chance earlier on, how many of you are implementing Agile in your company right now? Okay, thanks. And how many of you have been involved in Agile for more than 5 years? Okay. How many less than 2 years? And how many are going to start on Monday? Alrighty, well, we've got a lot of work to do then. Okay, good. So I've just got some generic questions over here, and my friends have also got some questions. If I can just unlock my phone. Alrighty, let's start with something. There was a comment earlier on from Michael when he opened this morning. I don't know if you guys were here, but he mentioned something about he feels that Agile may be going in another direction or maybe losing its way. Would you care to comment? Would you? I hope it's not too controversial to start with something like that. But how would you react to that?
I have the mic, so I guess I should start.
Go for it.
I think it's changing, but it would be strange if Agile wasn't changing.
If Agile wasn't agile.
Yeah. So I think what we see a lot more these days is that the thing called business agility. I talked about that. It's more becoming of a company sports, and it's not only software development sports anymore. And I think it's actually a great thing because we have now the opportunity to do much more as businesses and not just as IT departments. And I see that as a positive thing. Of course, there's a negative connotation because we talk about the agile industry now. But that's why we're here, to keep the spirits and to make the right things. So I think there's no danger, at least in my opinion.
The Agile industrial complex.
Maybe a bit more controversial. I think we need to move on. I think the experiences I've had with larger organizations it's an increasingly unhelpful word, especially as you get higher up in the organization, because they all think they can just buy it. So there's a lot of executives out there who we haven't had the opportunity to work with yet, and I know Portia works with some of those people, and some of us get the chance to. But I think a lot of the executives are so far away from the work that they think they can just buy agility. And I'm also hearing people saying, oh, it's laughing when they say large organizations, a 10-year journey, it can't take 10 years to become agile. Well, the reality of it is, to do it well, it may well take 10 years if there's 25,000 people. So I'm more thoughtful about using new words. I think some of the words that Ron Jeffries, I don't know whether anybody saw the tweet from Ron Jeffries a few months ago, where Ron Jeffries actually said, you know, Agile is a word now being used to beat up developers. And I actually think some of that is true. I actually think that what we've ended up doing in some ways is we're product backlog item churners if we're not careful. And I think we have to move away from that and start connecting the development teams back to the value that they generate. And so I'm not sure Agile is going to be the way we get there in the end, but it's been a great stepping stone to get us this far.
So I'm quite fond of the word agile, be it with a lowercase or an uppercase, because for me it's always begun with a personal transformation. And for me, the reason it's got a bad name, and actually I tried to turn away from Agile if we're going to all be friends here now, about 2 years ago when I turned to executive and personal coaching training, was because I felt there was a lack of integrity in the Agile community, where we were prepared to sell Agile training that cost a lot of money, but delivered zero to even less, if that's mathematically possible, value to people who attended. And I think that's what's at crisis, not Agile as a concept itself. And I think if we were all able to just try to take a moment and walk that walk for a bit longer before telling everyone else to do it, I think that's where the change begins. And if we were to follow the value of Agile, it's not about the whole organization going that way. We don't need that, right? It's just whatever is needed to help people be their best selves at work, to generate value for society, and that's why I'm in it.
I agree that a lot of big companies that sells tools and processes and all this stuff are, let's say, using this word in order to sell, and they are very good in marketing. It's surprising, so extremely good. I will buy their product if I wouldn't know. And in the end, the only thing they are, let's say, achieving that is having organization iterating something. So instead of having big releases of 6 months, 1 year, and so having 2 months iterations. So for a big corporation, can be a first good step. The problem is that they will get stuck on this. They will not go further. Okay, and my guess, or maybe my hope, or maybe my desire, or the reality, is that as they think that Agile is doing iterations, they will lose the battle against competitors, because the competitors are natively working in a different way, working with considering their people thinking together, having motivating people, giving space for innovation and all this stuff. So in 3 years, maybe we will be able to reverse the situation we have right now. This is my hope.
If I could add something to that, because I'm representing a company that's a tool vendor, and in the Agile community, I've heard this people interaction over process and tools like a zillion times or something. I want to make sure that I express my thinking, and it's not tools are there to help you out, and if you use them the right way, or the right way being how they work for you, they will do no harm. It's like blaming a knife that somebody used it to kill a person with that knife. I just want to make sure we don't demonize tools for being tools. It's how we use them and what we do with them.
Yeah, obviously work for Atlassian, similar views. The one thing I would say is I think that it becomes, I've only recently joined a tool vendor, but one of the things I would say is where tools become more interesting, I think, is when you're trying to scale. And I always have this, I find it really funny when people talk about, should we be co-located when we do Agile, or should we have, can we make it work? And I often say, well, are you on the same floor as the rest of your team members, or do you have to raise your voice? And as soon as somebody has to raise their voice to go and talk to another team member, you are no longer co-located. Because the reality of it is, most of us, you don't have to put your hands up, but given the choice of sending an email or an instant message to somebody, or getting out of your seat and walking over to them, I know which one most people choose. So you end up using some form of tool, it's just how you use it. The other thing I was thoughtful about when Michael was talking this morning about the Agile word was, I actually do think we have lost something to the DevOps community. And I don't mean lost something in a bad way. I actually think it would be good if we could reconnect with the DevOps community. Because I think the developers, the engineers, a lot of engineers have gone there because they've got disillusioned with Agile. I know that's quite controversial, but I do think that's some of the case, and I'd love to see us reconnect with those DevOps communities.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. I want to go to something. See if we can find some paradox, maybe. Horror stories and miracles, right? Some things that you've seen that you'd like to never ever see again, and some things that you've seen that you wish could be easily replicated at the push of a button, or as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So after something like 15 years of working pretty much as a permanent in most organizations doing internal change, or as a permanent consultancy helping others do change, I decided to go contracting last year. I'm 43 this year. So I thought that was an awfully brave thing to do. I thought, here's my chance to run my own company. What am I going to do? Well, of course, I'm going to try to live my Agile values, because that's what led me to where I am. And my origins of it was really XP, and it was communication, simplicity, feedback, courage, and respect. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do that, then I should come up with some principles of who I'm going to hire as my client. And I have 3 of those. So on that checklist, number 1 is the person hiring me has to care a lot about the people that they're hiring me to help. Number 1. Number 2, they have to provide the support necessary to the people I'm helping so that that help can be received. So for example, if I'm doing group coaching and I suggest half a day out with the whole team, then the whole team will do that. The person hiring me will allow them, give them the ability to do that. Now the third point, which is really edgy, and I was kind of like, oh my God, if I do this, I'll be homeless, is the person hiring me would be prepared to change themselves. Anyway, since last April, I've been on a shopping spree with those 3 criteria, and I've found those people. And the rate of change and the impact that my work is having is just so gratifying. It's not about my own success, but it's about how the time I'm spending is actually adding value. And I think that's the important question we need to ask ourselves when it comes to really being Agile. So I think that for me is a mini miracle.
Yeah, I think when I reflect back on some of the things I'm surprised about most and have shocked me most, and I've changed my view on a lot, is I always used to think that a lot of senior leaders were evil or not very smart. And what you suddenly realize when you get closer to the sun is you suddenly realize...
Or the black hole. Or the black hole.
Yes. It is when you suddenly realize that the problems they face are very different. And they don't set out to do bad things. And they do bad things because the way they've learned and been taught and gone through business schools have just taught them bad things. And I also think a lot of them, for whatever reason we think about, have listened to business consulting organizations who themselves have been through that same journey. And so those business consulting firms tell those executives to run their own organizations like business consulting firms. And I've seen that really horrifically go wrong many times. And I think we in the Agile community have got a lot of value we can add with all the different ways we think about the world. We just have to look at helping them solve their problems. And where I've seen really good things happen is where you use an Agile mindset to go and help an executive not solve your problem, but solve their problem using agility. And then you earn the trust to do better. And I've seen that work brilliantly. And to Portia's words, a lot of them want to do really great things, they just don't know how.
Thank you, Gary.
Mine is a horror story. I'm a bit triggered by a lot of people buying the big frameworks for scaling Agile. I think it's ultimately what we should teach ourselves to do ourselves. The ideas in these frameworks are very nice and obviously great ideas, but we should use them, in my opinion, as source of inspiration. If we try to implement any of the big frameworks out there, just pick a name, it's valid for that framework. I think it's very dangerous, and that's why the agile industrial complex is thriving because of these things. And I think we should care more not to do that. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be bought on that idea, as you mentioned. People think they can buy that, and it's just impossible.
If I have to think on horror stories or something like this, maybe I would talk on me, about me. My last horror story was several months or years ago. It's been it's like if I was a piece of wood you can move. I mean, a piece of your room. So in the end, what is happening, I was reflecting on this, is that some managers think that they are dealing with kids. So they are not taking advantage of all the knowledge the other people have. So they are not asking, understanding, letting go, even not delegating, but it's far more than this. I mean, it's okay, I have adults here, so take your decisions and let's try things. So every time, I mean, the worst things I have seen is having managers dealing with things, not with people.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'd like you to kind of prepare questions you might have, or any comments you might have. I know that Dimitri's prepared one or two, as well as, let me just hand a microphone onto the side over here, and we can.
Okay. Hi guys. How important is fun? Having fun. So, and if it's important, how do you make it happen?
Okay, I mean, we are, I know that some of you are very experts on this topic, but anyway, I think we are emotional human beings, so it's a rational part and the emotional part. And in the end, there is an important thing. If you ever have to sell something to a senior manager, I mean, you have to go for the emotional thing in the end. Okay, what is the thing that this person didn't allow him to sleep or whatever? So in the end, it's not a question of numbers. People will move because ideas, vision, problems that don't let them sleep. So on the other side, having fun and enjoying that you are even more than in a team, in an organization, in a group, where you spend a lot of time and you laugh every day. It's a very important thing because you create very strong, let's say, very strong connections that will help in the tough moments. So having explicit time and explicit actions for getting this is very, very important. You have to fight for these things.
I would redefine the question a bit. I think fun, to me at least, in a professional context, means enjoying what you're doing. So to me, that's everything. I can work like a horse, like 3 days non-stop if I like what I'm doing. If I don't like what I'm doing, then even an hour seems like eternity. So to me, that's everything, and I preach this in our company, and I actually ask people, I have asked people that are not enjoying themselves in the company to either talk to me or just find a better company, because nobody deserves to hate their job. So that's what I have to add.
Yeah, I'm thoughtful about the definition of fun again, and I'm also thoughtful about it in the context of inclusion. Because I think what we have to be thoughtful about is not everybody thinks about fun in the same way, even in the same team. And I think that one of the reasons I think that is because I'm generally somebody who, I love being around people, but I find they take a lot of energy. It takes me a lot of energy to be around people. So I have to just go and rest and relax. So the idea of fun for me is not a evening out partying all night with 300 people. That is not fun for me. That is like too overstimulation. So for me, that's not fun. But for many of my other teammates, that is fun. So I think when we think about fun, we also have to think about the fact that many people in our organisations think about fun differently. And that ping pong table just round the corner that you love to play is driving some developer completely crazy who's trying to write some code. So I'm also thoughtful about, 100% fun may not equal 100% outcome. So.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Tony about fun. If you force people to have fun, then that's punishment, not fun, in case there's any ambiguity there. And one of the things that people often ask me after my talk is, so how do I get my team to play? Because you know what, I think they should play regularly. They seem very unhappy. They must start playing now. And then at that point, I turn around and go, well, that thing about leading by example, how much fun do you have? Because actually, you can't make people have fun, because fun is play naturally attractive. If you're having fun, people will naturally be interested. And I definitely agree that people enjoy fun in different ways, right? And it's about creating options. So the latest experiment I'm trying at the moment is I've started a ukulele club at where I'm working, which is Ocado, and Anka gave a great talk this morning about that. And at Ocado, we have more than one Slack group per employee. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this thing called Ocado Jam, like strawberry jam in a supermarket. But Ocado Jam is a music jam, and every Friday we get together from 12 till 1. We have some available ukulele songbooks, very easy to read, some ukuleles and various instruments. And I discovered that was a really good way of bringing people together and attracting change agents, people who dared to have fun. I mean, it takes guts to play and sing a song in public whilst everyone else is going past. And I came up with this idea, actually, because of something that if you ever come to London, I recommend joining something called Ukulele Wednesdays. So this lady created a songbook that she circulated, and in 3 pubs, every Wednesday, you can go to these 3 pubs with an instrument of your choice, preferably a ukulele, but it could be a banjo-lele, any kind of noisemaker, really, or just your voice. You can buy yourself a beer if you like. Again, that's optional. And then basically for the next couple of hours at Ukulele Wednesday, you can just play at your level, whenever you want. You can sing, and if you feel you can't sing, no one tells you to shut up. And for me, that was such a revelation, and it made me feel like, this is the Agile community I have been looking for. And I've been waiting to find the right organization to try this experiment, and it's been embraced. And within about 3 months later, that was in Hatfield in the UK, Ocado Jam Krakow just appeared as a Slack group. And then, I tried talking to the organizer there and said, maybe we could do a remote ukulele jam, and they were like, how would you do that? I said, well, that's easy. Flip up your laptop, we'll just do like a video conference call, and we'll call out the songs and stuff like that, right? So I'm hoping to have an Ocado Jam Sofia as well, and an Ocado Jam Barcelona, right? And I think that's what the inclusion is. It's giving people choice. And when you trust people to make the right choice for the betterment of the organization, because the vision has been clearly expressed, then people will make the best possible choice.
I can't wait until the robots start playing ukulele. That should be fun. Cool. Yasunas, you have a question.
Hi. Coming back to the paradoxes, agility is all about inclusiveness also, but the mid-layer seems that they feel that they are being excluded. So, because the product owner might have decisions, or the team must be self-sustained. So, do you know any tips and tricks, or any comments on this paradox?
One of the consequences for many Agile implementations I've seen is that people no longer let their leaders lead. So I'll repeat that. People do not let their leaders lead. And on YouTube, there's this great video, right? And it's a festival, and there's one bloke, and he's kind of just jumped up and he starts dancing, okay? And you think, he's just had a bit of beer or something else, and he's starting to dance. And then slowly, someone else stands up, and that person also starts dancing. And I ask you, which of those 2 people is a leader? Take a guess. Let's play. Okay, so if you think it's the first person, raise your hand. Okay. If you think it's the second person, raise your hand. You can only become a leader if you have a follower. So I just want to challenge your thinking about that. And that really made me think, because I myself am a reluctant leader. I'm not interested in leading, but I'm interested in change that benefits everybody. But what's really interesting about this follower mindset is that by following, you are choosing, you are clarifying what you believe in, and then clarifying whether or not you believe in whatever that guy's doing, and you think, actually, that's okay. And by you standing up for what you believe in, you are giving permission to other people to also follow and to lead. So I I think we should think about leadership as a good leader is a good follower, and that's what makes a great leader. And I think we really need to think about that in Agile.
Wow. So I think one of the things I've had the opportunity to work in really big and smaller companies. And one of the first things I'm thoughtful around is most of the middle managers, and I think that's what there's a lot of, you hear it called the frozen middle, where they actually never change. And I think one of my observations about the reason that change tends to not happen, it's the same reason in politics that we don't get the change we all expect when we vote in the government that we thought were going to make the changes that they thought they were going to change. And it's because, first of all, the people the people at the very top are not there long enough to make the change stick. So I go back to Agile in large, huge organizations with 10,000 people can take 10 years. And the problem with that is that those senior executives rarely stay for those 10 years. And the challenge is when you flip that senior management, nobody knows who to trust or what the next shape of the thing they should follow is. So the point about the followers is they go, okay, I was following this person who brought in agility. Should I carry on like that? And the problem is every time those leaders change, it creates significant uncertainty. And in fact, in one organization I worked at, I actually used the tool I work with now, Jira. I literally worked with the team to create all the tickets that closed, how many tickets were closing over time, and I could tell you by the number of tickets that were closing on a given week whether a senior leader had left or joined. Because the productivity of the organization dropped by, I kid you not, 30% for over a month when that senior leader changed. And what you get is this constant churn of, should I follow the new leader? Who is the new leader? What is the new norm? Well, and I'm very thoughtful about that.
I mean, I can comment on that. If you look at the way governments work and when governments change over, it takes at least 3 months for them to find where they need to sit, and then 3 more months after that for them to be able to get signing power, and then 3 more months after that to start implementing some policy. So yeah, that resonates.
I haven't seen this in my experience, so it doesn't make sense that I comment.
So if we are talking on the inclusiveness or who are participating in a transformation, all this stuff, in a big company, I think we should stop to worry on this. I mean, we can do the things, the only thing we can do is to select in which part of the organization. I mean, you cannot flip a big organization that took maybe 100 years to be created. So it doesn't make sense to try to do this in three years. You don't have enough energy and you don't have enough money to, let's say, to fire people. So, so in the end, and it's normal. So focus on in which part of the organizations you have the need, you have the right mindset also, so the right people, and do things with them. And after this, they will create traction on the rest of the organization. And you cannot do anything because if you try to do this, or you will get nothing because the change will not be sustainable, okay? Or maybe, or you will get, let's say, you will have an anxiety crisis or something like this. So it's better to, following the same idea of Agile, of prioritizing, iterating, and so, you have to iterate the change in the organization where it makes sense. And it's a pity you cannot go to all parts of the organization. So some of them will survive because of the competitors, some of them no. You have to select.
Thank you, Xavier. Thank you. Alrighty, our awesome crowd. Let me throw the microphone at somebody. Any questions? Any comments? Anything you'd like? Oh, there you are.
Thank you for very interesting discussions, trigger thinking. My question is, there is a Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. And usually this is the case for the old agile transformation in the company, and usually people suffer a lot because of the changes. they need to change their mindset, management need to change their mindset, and these changes takes long time, as you mentioned, especially when companies rigid. Do you have any tips how to help people, let's say from the Agile coach perspective or Scrum Master perspective, to help them survive in this culture, or to help them really survive and come through this process when it takes a couple of years? They may just get tired and stop worrying actually and lose their motivation. So can we do anything about it?
There's one blog post by a guy called Richard Durnall. I think this guy should be getting much more attention. He talks about stages of Agile transformation, how you scale Agile. And he says that a lot of things break in a certain order when you attempt to do such transformation. And the first thing he says, what breaks is people, then tooling, then governance, which means how you track where things are. Then it's money, the customer, and then the entire organization. And from my experience, it's actually true. First, people have high resistance to change because nobody wants to be changed, right? Me as well. Then you have the tooling problem. I think that's what you mentioned, that a lot of companies attempt transformations by doing training and buying tooling, and they stop there. But they actually have to continue moving further. How do we govern the entire body of knowledge in the company? How do we know where things are? I think portfolio Kanban as a concept is very strong here. Then how you fund your initiatives, how you talk to the customer, and how you spread this across your organization. So back to your question, what can we do that? We can be better prepared that these things will happen in that order. And if you are better prepared that they will happen in that order, it gives you the benefit that you can be, a few steps ahead, and you can anticipate these things. That's my take on it.
Thank you. I think Xavi might have a comment. No? No?
Okay. There is one basic thing to start with, that is if we share the same vision. So in our case at least, we elaborated our shared vision, what we want to be. Okay, we want to be the engine of the future in the retail, so we are active part of this, okay, and share this with all people, because the vision was different for everyone, okay. So having this first step where all people, let's say, is aligned, so you have to identify what are the main impediments to achieve this vision. I mean, we are not implementing Agile, introducing Scrum in a startup. No, we are looking for our vision. Okay, so what are the impediments? We have a tool set that is Lean, Agile, and all this stuff. And we prioritize this based on the impact to be done. And making people, let's say, participate, so being very inclusive in how to deal with these challenges. So in this way, they feel part of the change, okay? And they are not worried or thinking that we are introducing Agile. No, this was not the purpose. The purpose is to improve our system, being, let's say, more motivated at work, wherever it's, let's say, it's an impediment to progress. Okay, this way of thinking that is solving problems for management, solving problems for the people in the trenches is what really helps to progress.
I really like that, because I think it goes back to the word agile that we talked about earlier, that says, I think we increasingly have to not focus on the word agile with the people who are trying to do the best work they can, and just give them the opportunity to do the best work they can. And I think sometimes we lose track of that's what people want to do. I think it was mentioned earlier, nobody turns up to work to do a bad job. I've never met anybody who gets out of bed and goes, today I'm going to go and do a terrible job. None of us do that. So you have to look at the system and say, why is that the case? And I like the idea of set the vision. I mean, I'm really fortunate about where I work now, and my previous, when I worked at Skype. If you've never worked at Skype, you just don't it's one of the few companies I've worked for where people just smile when they talk about the fact they talk to their parents or somebody in a different country that they've never spoken to before. And being a software engineer at Skype taught me an awful lot about, You need to reconnect people to the work and the value they generate, and they will just do better. And then all the agile things are just practices. They're just a set of practices and ways of reflecting on things getting better. And that's the way I think we should be positioning it with the people who need to move forward.
Yeah, for me, I think change is an invitation and it's an option. So if you force people to change, then that's no different from forcing them to play, and that's punishment. So no one wants to do that, because they start asking themselves, am I a criminal? Am I the victim? What does this all mean? So I think it's about making it an invitation and making it optional. And you can do it in waves or in iterations, whatever you want to call it. So not everyone has to get on the first bus. The bus will come around again. And next time it might be, I don't know, a fire engine. And then the time after that might be an ambulance. It doesn't matter, right? But I'm more thinking about fairground rides or something, right? So I think the thing is, make it optional. Let people grow and choose to grow at their own pace, because we all grow at a different pace, right? If we remember what we were like as children. So that's number one. And then the second one is fun. I'm like, oh my goodness, when I get into the meeting rooms with some people, they look so sad. Either that or they've just gone zombie. And you're thinking, but I just spoke to Dan a minute ago, and he was such a lovely guy, and he teaches clowning in his spare time to children on a Saturday. What's happened to Dan? Where did he go? Right? And people, I think, just have this natural corporate mindset themselves that they've imprisoned themselves in, and they say, well, I'm at work, I've got to be really professional. Well, being professional is doing your job and being your whole self, right? So I think it's just about challenging that as well.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. I'm conscious we're slowly running out of time. I would like to take a few more, but what I'd suggest we do is I'd encourage you to either interact directly with the speakers during the rest of the day or put comments into the Wava app. That would be awesome. I do apologize that we've gone over time, but I do want to introduce our next speaker very quickly. Can I ask very quickly, the whole objective of this is meaningful connections, right? So who's made a meaningful connection in the last couple of hours? A meaningful connection here and getting meaningful content, I hope, right? And we can move forward. Thank you very, very much to our esteemed panel. Thank you. I look forward to hearing